All right, so the recording has started, so let's go ahead. Siddha, you want to kick us off? You're on mute.
I can't hear. I can't hear him.
Siddha, looks like you're on mute, my friend.
I think his mic isn't working, but let me just go ahead and ask the first question. What are some shortcomings of the current alerting mechanisms, including the ones used for search and rescues?
Okay. The shortcomings would probably be what you would imagine when a child or an adult is missing. The key ingredient to trying to locate them is time. Everything is time sensitive. With today's technology, it's taken a lot of the delays and the lags in time out, but still the things that delay us the most with the shortcomings are reporting times, which is all human. So once we figure out that someone is missing, or there's a child or an adult that's missing, it goes very fast from that point forward. But the shortcomings in the system now are the how do you report, or when do you choose to report that someone is missing? A lot of times people are not extremely clear on, well, I think he or I think she might be here. I'm hesitant to call the police, or I'm hesitant to put this out because they may very well be in the backyard. They may be at Jimmy's house playing Xbox. They may be somewhere else. I don't know. Because a lot of times that's what happens, is we find these people in the neighbor's house playing Xbox, or in the basement, or they're in a closet, or they've gotten in a fight with their friends or their mom or their dad, and or a relative, and they've gone hiding in the house. And so the shortcomings are many times just the lag in reporting. Now, once it is reported, you use a lot of different methods to find them, from the alert system to the phone system to the cellular system to the billboards on the side of the highway to helicopters to dogs to police, depending on who's missing. But every agency has different protocols in how they find people or look for people. A lot of times they'll check a box. Okay, first go to the house, then we have to interview the people, then we have to interview the parents, then we have to interview the person that's reporting, then we have to find out, is this really a child that's in need of services? Is it a child that's truly missing, or just maybe kind of didn't come home on time? There's a lot of different factors, and once they go through all that, they start massing more and more police and more investigators as the facts reveal themselves about whether or not someone is missing truly or just kind of late. And there's a difference with that. The shortcomings of the system really are inherent to the case itself, unfortunately, because there's so many different human factors. And so I would say human factors, reporting, time delays are the biggest shortcomings of the system as it's developed now, if that makes any sense to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So the next question is, so like everywhere we research, we usually see like about like maybe 80% of the suspects know the victim. So is this like true?
You know what? I don't know the exact percentage. That's not my level of expertise. I couldn't answer that, but it certainly sounds reasonable that there's a large percentage of people that are very familiar with the person that's either abducted or the person that's taken. I don't know how many are complete strangers versus how many are relatives or friends or even just acquaintances. I couldn't tell you the number. I'm sorry.
Okay, who wants to go next? Siddha or Mahima?
I can go.
Go ahead, please.
So, what else can be used to, like, help with the alerting system in the event of a kidnapping? Like anything that's not technology, what else can be used to help?
Well, just like I mentioned before, the biggest thing is personnel, whether it's investigators or police or social workers or counselors, people that are in the family, other family members. These are the things that slow it down, as well as give tremendous amounts of information. All these things are then pumped through technology, which is used more and more, but it's not simply just a put the information out there and let's hope that somebody finds a tag, or the car is even the right car. People that are truly intent on abducting people, they make mistakes, but they also can be very sly and very savvy in what they do and how they do it, researching and doing the same information, looking for the same information that you guys are looking for now, and they can disguise their tracks pretty well. So it makes it difficult.
I can go next.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was using the wrong mic.
That's okay.
So, what are the common ways used to find missing children or other people other than an Amber or Silver Alert?
Typically, if, for example, your dad didn't come home, you're going to make a phone call. The common ways are your typical phone call is going to be either to him or to somebody you knew he was with, or to your mom. If you knew he was with a friend or a relative, again, you're going to use the phone. That's the typical way. If that doesn't work and you don't have any resolve, you're going to call probably 911 and report him missing. Once you report him missing, there's a whole criteria that has to be met in order to say that he's in fact missing. So the common ways are typically through the phone or through human communication. Once that's done, then if in fact he's missing and the criteria is met, and what I mean by the criteria is, for example, if your dad reported you missing, that's a big deal because you're not an adult. But once you turn 18 or even 16, all of these factors change a little bit, especially at 16, when you learn how to drive. You may be lost. You probably aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm not saying that you will be, but a lot of kids in that age, they get distracted. So I'm stopping off at Jimmy's house, or I'm stopping off at Billy's house, and I didn't tell my dad. My phone battery died because I didn't put the cord in. And these factors affect why mom and dad can't find you. If you're truly missing and endangered and you're 18 years old, then you're an adult and you're allowed to be missing, not endangered, but missing. And when that happens, the police, again, are checking off blocks and meeting criteria. As far as your question about the common ways to find, other than the Amber Alert, once you call the police, investigators are put into play, police officers are put into play, social workers, depending on what situation you're in, or counselors, school counselors, if you're still in school, relatives are put into play, and then they'll call out resources for drug sniffing, human sniffing dogs, dogs that track, canines, helicopters like what I do. They have infrared technology. We have ground-based technology. There's drones that we can use. There's certainly again, coupled with the Amber Alert system that you guys are researching. And through that technology, there's also Facebook that people use with the technology. But again, I know you're leaning more towards just the meat and potatoes part of trying to search for somebody. And if that's the question that you're looking for, it would be simply ground-based police officers, investigators, aircraft, canine, and interviews and things of that nature.
Okay. On the
Does that
same
make
of
sense?
that question, you were talking about the criteria. What exactly are the criteria?
The criteria changes depending on not only what area you live in, but what state you live in, and whether it's a federal case or local or a state case. each agency has their own criteria as to what is considered a missing person. You would think that it would be fairly straightforward across the board, but depending on the locality, if you call, for example, Leesburg PD, there's criteria that they're going to have. The sheriff's office here would have maybe a slightly different criteria. The state police may only look for somebody if they're missing endangered instead of just, hey, can you go do a welfare check? That happens quite often where somebody will call and say, I haven't talked to my grandfather. We usually talk once a week, but I called him this week and he's not answering. I can't see where he is. I live in California and he lives in Virginia. So you call the police department to go by and do a welfare check. Some agencies will do that. Some agencies don't have time for stuff like that because it's not a crime to be just not answering your phone. So every state and every locality seem to have a different criteria. For the most part, to answer your question, it's going to be how long have they been gone? What are the circumstances under which they're missing? Were they in company of somebody that's not in their best interest? Is there a medical reason why they could be missing, or is there a medical a prescription or something that they don't have that they need for their heart or for their mind or to help them with their system, and they've been without that, they left it at home? And so there's all kind of criteria that are laid forth to determine whether or not they're truly endangered. Missing is one thing. A lot of people are missing, but missing and endangered is really what elevates this to the we have to go now and search and do search and rescue. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes.
All right, everyone. So we are almost up on our time. I would like to take this opportunity to ask one quick question to Mr. Blanton, which is that in your experience, what are the technological gaps that you see? So, or to rephrase my question, what is there something technology-wise that you wish you had at your disposal that would help expedite the search and rescue? Does my question?
You know what?
make
Yeah,
sense?
no, that's a good question. The technology that would help find people instantly is something that they may do in a socialist or a communist country where you can put chips or tags in people, or things that we do over here when somebody's committed a crime and they're restricted to their home or a city block, and you put an ankle bracelet or bracelet. These things that can be put on people, they're found instantly. There's ways and technology with GPS tracking to do that. It would make our job easier, but it would be not against the law necessarily, but it would be somewhat unethical to chip everyone or put some sort of computer monitor on somebody. They do have these for people with Alzheimer's. They put necklaces and bracelets on people that they don't really realize have computer chips in them, and we find those people instantly. But for the people that we really would like to find fast, that would be something that I would think would help out a lot, because a lot of times our information is somewhat erroneous. They'll ask us to search a different area or an area that they think they might be, but in reality, they're in a totally different area. And sometimes, and quite often, we're like, oh, well, we searched with the canine and we did the interviews and we did all these things and they're checking off all these blocks. And they said, oh yeah, let's get a helicopter. The helicopter that we particularly fly has a tremendous amount of equipment and gear on it. But if we're not given the proper information about where to search, it's kind of a waste of time. In that we can be up there for a long time and we're not even in the right area because we're basing it on information that's a bit erroneous. So better information, better interviews, and calling us sooner would be things that I would like to have happen for us anyway. But as far as technology goes, tracking systems are quite often the best way to find somebody really fast.
Would you think, this is going to be my last question, I promise. Would you think that
Sure.
Facial recognition as a part of that would help you all?
You know, from our vantage point, daytime or nighttime, we can see people. And it's interesting to note that if somebody in the helicopter recognizes or knows who's on the ground, your mind will tell you, oh yeah, that's the boss, or that's Tom, or that's one of the search and rescue guys, because you can see their face. I don't know that anybody has facial recognition technology that will work from 5,000 feet up, at least not in the civilian world. That would be something that would work, but they're going to, from our vantage point, we're going to need to see a pretty clear picture of their face, not in the trees. For example, if it's somebody that's injured that falls face down, we'll never find them with facial recognition. But I know that technology works in airports and in buildings and things of that nature where you are close to a camera. But we're sometimes 2, 3 to 5,000 feet up, and it would be I think you'd be hard pressed to actually say that was the person. It could work, but that's a long time away, I think.
Makes sense. All right, folks, any other questions?
So you mentioned that you use like Facebook, Amber Alert system, drone systems, and helicopters for the technological aspects of finding someone. Are there any other ones that are very helpful for you?
As far as technology is concerned?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Really, there is other technology out there, but unfortunately, I work for government, and there's a budget. And so I'm sure that in the private industry, maybe this technology is out there and could help, but I find it difficult to believe the government, at least the group I work for, would pay for that kind of equipment that would help us be that advanced in our searching. So again, we're using technology that's pretty advanced right now. There's as just as your cell phone is probably getting better every year when you get a new iPhone or you get a new Samsung. When that comes up, the technology, it keeps increasing, but it advances so fast that unless you're in the testing phase of something for some agency or for some manufacturer to be able to purchase it, by the time we purchase the best latest technology, which we think we have in the helicopter now, within a matter of a couple years, that technology is obsolete. So it's expensive as well as needed. But right now, I think that we're okay with what we have because it's a proven entity. But maybe in another 10 years, when we can make a sound judgment on this technology, whether it be facial recognition or whether it be some sort of tracking ability, that sound technology that will last the next 20 years, so we don't have to buy it again every year. I think that might be something they'd look into. Did that make sense?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, you're
All
welcome.
right. I think we are good and up on our time.
Okay.
Sira, do you have something real quick or?
No.
All right. So we would like to all thank Mr. Blanton for his time. We really appreciate it, and this is very helpful.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Thank
You guys
you.
take care.
Have a good
You're
evening.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir,
thank
for
you.
your
Thank you,
time.
sir.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
For your
Take care.
time,
You guys
sir.
take
Thank
care.
you for your
Bye-bye.
time, Mr. Blanton.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording and then